Why would that change at all? Why would it change at all? What the flippin' A? Just make it automatic. Okay. Doesn't make any difference. Check, check. 1, 2.
Outside just talking now. I mean, it's like this community, and I didn't know how else it was refreshing because these kids are interacting. The 14-year-old looks like she's 14, but she talks like she's 20, which is different. I mean, normally in California, and I hate to even say it this way, but it's like the girls look like they're 20, but they act like they're 14. And so this was the opposite. She looks like she's 14, but she acts and she talks like she's 20. She was homeschooled, and as I talk more about where they are, I start to hear all the drama, and it's not even like, it's like they kind of even said it, we just know each other's business because it's so small. Well, they know each other's business because they all have needs, and so, they're helping out the Airbnb host because he's at work. The 14-year-old cleans the house when I leave, so he pays her to take care of the house. His friends, it's just like they're, the neighbor across the street is watching the 14-year-old. The grandmother is watching the 14-year-old because the mom is out of town. I mean, it's like as I'm listening to all this, it's like these 4 or 5 families are mixed together with a common purpose, and the common purpose is we all need each other, and we're all going to help each other, and they do it because I don't know if they really have any other option. And so I was just blown away as I'm talking to these people, and again, it's not in this. It just didn't seem like in this. Oh, we're going to gossip. It was like, oh, we're going to help. And as I talked to my host, it's like, he said, it's up to our community to take care of us, and if we don't do it, then the government tries. They don't do a very good job. The church tries. And I think the church wants members, and and again, it was like I really believe that God was like, you don't need to go find a church today. I almost thought like maybe God was saying, this isn't even a place you need to do church because this is church right here in this neighborhood. So after spending 3 hours with them, I spend the last hour with them, telling them about what I'm doing, more specifically, telling them about my journey, talking about how crazy what I'm doing, and I start loving them, and I start praying with them, and the 14-year-old girl goes, "Will you pray for my grandma?" I mean, she tells me that within an hour. I tell her I'm going to Oklahoma City, and she tells me, "Oh yeah, Oklahoma really needs a lot of healing." And I didn't know about this tornado. I guess about 5 years ago, an F5 tornado went through Oklahoma, and it went like 18 miles and just obliterated the city. And the Oklahoma City bombing. There's all kinds of things, and so I was just fascinated by, I think, the spiritual awareness of this 14-year-old in the middle of this neighborhood. And then I find out that her mom's an alcoholic, her dad is nowhere to be found, and the grandmother is telling these people, I'm watching your other two cousins because God's keeping me alive. She's dying of I don't know, of some disease, which when I was there, the ambulance came twice to medically take care of her. I don't know what's going on, but I was just impressed by that. So then I meet a pastor that I literally just drive by and I meet, and really nice guy, told my testimony, and I was just kind of like, okay, God, maybe I'm not supposed to talk anywhere else. And the other church, I thought I had two people tell me about the same person. That didn't go anywhere. I had another person that wanted me to talk at CR, and I thought I was going to talk at CR, and that didn't go anywhere. So I go on my run, and on my run, I pass by Grace Church. And ironically, it was a church that I emailed. It was a church that I sent out. It was a church that I remember they had an aerial drone shot of the church, and I'm like, that's a big church. When I ran by it, I mean, I just immediately felt like, I had this sense that, oh yeah, that was a church that I tried to contact. So after I was done with my run, I took a shower, had lunch, went by, knocked on the door, and I met the youth pastor. And the youth pastor welcomed me, listened to my testimony, and next thing I know, he's like, "Well, I'm going to check out your YouTube, and can you give me some references of where you've already spoken?" And I thought, yeah. And so I ended up booking another night and canceling my trip to Oklahoma City. And I just waited on the Lord, and I said, "Okay, God, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk tonight, but I'm going to just see what happens." He calls me back the next day. He says, "Can you still talk tonight?" And I just asked, I go, "Hey, man, can I come over and borrow your Wi-Fi, play to their grand piano, baby grand piano?" We set up the video. It was just he took me to lunch. I had Whataburger, which is a great hamburger place. It's kind of like the California version of In-N-Out Burger is Texas and their Whataburger. Great burger. Anyhow, all that to just say, last night I felt comfortable. I'm playing ping pong with the kids. I'm playing this new game called which was called Dork, and it's like you take an old pool table and it's like horse on basketball, but you use the pool table, a black ball and a white ball, and you kind of play around. Anyhow, it was fun. Look it up. I'm sure somewhere has it, but it's called Dork, and put a piece of tape in a little hole, and it was a blast. I should have videotaped a little bit of the game. I don't know why I didn't do it. So, and again, I don't know why I'm not, taking selfies with the churches that receive me. It was a great youth group. It's the sixth time I talked. It was the largest crowd of probably 50 people, and sixth grade to 12th graders, along with some young adults that were kind of taking care of them. So anyhow, I'm off to Oklahoma City, and I just wanted to share my Amarillo, and there's even more that I met a cello player from Sacramento. These are Airbnb friends now, or people that stay in the same place as I do. A guy from England that I shared my testimony, or barely with, but I was trying to share Jesus with him because he doesn't believe. And then yesterday I'm on an Airbnb, and the guy is married, just married again from Modesto, California. Moved over here 5 years ago, married 3 years, and I just thought I needed to tell him about my experiences with what I'm learning about marriage and relationships, and he totally listened for an hour straight. We talked, and just can't believe the doors that God's opening, and I know he wants me to talk to all these people. And as I talk to this video channel, it's like I know in some crazy way that God can use it, and people encouraging me in YouTube is what helped me get through the season. So I want to be that same encouragement to people and say, hey, this is my journey, and hopefully you'll follow and see the steps that God used to help me get to a better place. Because that ultimately is what he wants. He wants not only, this is what this guy, I've always heard, hurt people hurt people. Well, I never heard the other half of it, which is free people help free people. And I thought that was really, really good, man. All right, man. Love you guys. Stay in your word. Just put in good things in your heart. Concentrate on the good. Focus on the good. And even though there's always going to be memories of stuff that you went through or stuff that's happening, just, concentrate on the good and remember who. One of the sermons was, don't worry so much about the why of why God is this happening, but the what and the who in it. That's Jesus. And when Job, I had two people talk about Job. When Job went through everything that he went through, even my mom, so that's three people. God spoke to him and said, "Where were you? Where were you when I made the earth?" And and he basically just puts Job back in his place, like, I'm God, you're not, and you need to deal with it, and in a loving way, of course, because I don't know, but I keep doing the hand thing because my exposure is just all messed up. So anyhow, God bless. Borrow your tape in a little hole, and I just wanted to share my Amarillo, and doesn't believe. And then yesterday I'm on an Airbnb, and the guy is married, just married again from Modesto, California. Moved over here 5 years ago, married 3 years, and I just thought I needed to tell him about my experiences with what I'm learning about marriage and relationships, and he totally listened for an hour straight. We talked, and just can't believe the doors that God's opening, and I know he wants me to talk to all these people. Totally listened for an hour straight. We talked, and just can't believe the doors that God's opening, and I know he wants me to talk to all these people. And as I talk to this video channel, it's like I know in some crazy way that God can use it. And, people encouraging me in YouTube is what helped me get through the season. So I want to be that same encouragement to people and say, hey, this is my journey, and hopefully you'll follow and see the steps that God used to help me get to a better place. Because that ultimately is what He wants. He wants not only, this is what this guy, I've always heard, hurt people hurt people. Well, I never heard the other half of it, which is free people help free people. And I thought that was really, really good, man. All right, man. Love you guys. Stay in your word. Just put in good things in your heart. Concentrate on the good. Focus on the good. And even though there's always going to be memories of stuff that you went through or stuff that's happening, just, concentrate on the good and remember who. One of the sermons was, don't worry so much about the why of why God is this happening, but the what and the who in it. That's Jesus. And when Job, I had two people talk about Job. When Job went through everything that he went through, he married 3 years, and I just thought I needed to tell him about my experiences with what I'm learning about marriage and relationships. And he totally listened for an hour straight. We talked, and
is this working so hard? Well, I'm streaming. I keep clapping. How's it going, man? I am back. It is Monday night, and Holy Spirit, come and help me get this state out. It's the big state of Texas, Father, and you had big things that you wanted to show me. I pray that everyone's safe and help me get this out, Father. In your precious name, Jesus, amen. All right, guys, so welcome, and I am now on my 48-state journey with Jesus, and I am in Amarillo, Texas. I am going through some crazy weather, and I have this trailer, and I'm going through this crazy windstorm to get to Texas from New Mexico. And I can't say I was scared, but let's just say a couple times I was thinking about maybe stopping under an underpass and waiting it out. It was barely hailing, but I've never seen a dirty, muddy rain before with wind and stuff like that. But it was a little scary at times, and I think it was the first time, other than a little snow. But I was kind of like, is my trailer going to fall away? So I think I have some pictures here. Let's check them out. Kind of going backwards, but I kind of like to show my GPS where it tells you where I'm at. So I left Albuquerque. I'm on my way to Amarillo. I'm just out the state border, and there it was. So in any case, got my little notes here. So I come into Texas, and I'm staying in this Airbnb, and I'm blown away by this neighborhood. So, me driving my trailer with the Jeep, people, I kind of got attention, and I didn't mean to, but so all of a sudden I'm being received by all these teenager kids. They're 12, 14, 18, and literally instead of a host, which not Airbnbs have hosts, but I'm actually received by this family of kids, and this 14-year-old girl is literally welcoming me. She's telling me where my room is. Here's this, here's that. the house was pretty humble. Um, and the homeowner just wasn't there to be found. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting to find out about these family, and without really going into too many details, I kind of feel like um, they were all helping each other out, and this neighborhood wasn't very nice. The children weren't very, you could just tell they weren't very educated, but they had street smart, they had communication skills. And so, of all the things in my journey, I remember saying this, and I'm going to repeat it so you guys don't have to hear the long thing. But this 14-year-old was acting like a 20-year-old. She definitely looked 14, but she was a 20-year-old mature young lady. And I told my little video chat that I had recorded of myself was that a lot of our 14-year-old girls look like they're 20, but they certainly are 14 by their age. So I just thought this was kind of a reversal, and nothing against women. I should probably not even say anything, but the reality of it is that I believe that when we are faced with less options, this little girl had an alcoholic mom. She had a grandmother that I think was on drugs that was taking care of her. This was survival skill for her. And so she was actually cleaning the room. And as time went on, I actually stayed there a couple nights. The host basically said, I'm trying to help out my neighborhood. I don't think he made any money on the Airbnb. I think all the money that he was making, he was paying for this little girl to clean it, to change the sheets. And I'm telling you right now, they made me a barbecue. They said, we're going to barbecue tonight, and they hosted me. These little kids, and I don't want to say little kids, but even the older ones were still barely 20, and you could tell half of them were having just a hard time having jobs, and it was a beautiful thing to see. They were in each other's business, and I say that because they were in each other's business because they knew what everyone needed. What do you know about your neighbors, about what they need? What do they know about what you need? And it's sad to say, but I think a lot of us just don't know our neighbors' needs. We should. And even if we did, which I have to admit, there's always something more I could do it for my neighbors. This was a beautiful environment to be in because it was refreshing. This 14-year-old girl, she really wanted to know what I was doing. I told her, and she's like, can you pray for my grandmother? And she was ready to invite me over to her grandmother. She came back like 4 or 5 hours later, and she said, yeah, my grandma said she doesn't really know you. You're a stranger, and you probably shouldn't come over. They asked me where I was going next. I told them I was going to go to Oklahoma City, and they're like, and again, this 14-year-old girl's like, yeah, Oklahoma City, it needs a lot of prayer. They've been really in a lot of hurt. And I guess a big tornado had recently went through. So I'm trying not to go into too many things here, but now it's time for me to, like, I was almost like, God, maybe this is the church that you want me to see, is a group of people loving each other. And I don't want to get, universal or anything else like that, but to me, I think that was just another thing outside the church that God maybe wanted me to see. So now this is the next day, I go on a run. I've already made a phone call or two. I make notice of a church has an aerial shot. It's called Grace Church. I decide to run. They don't even know where I'm running, but there's that church. I went home, I showered, I come back. I literally, I don't know what day it was. I get there, the youth pastor agrees to see me. We start talking, and I start telling him about my testimony. He tells me some interesting things about how their church started, and I feel like I had released talking. I had made plans to go to Oklahoma City that night, so this would be my last night. But this youth pastor said, well, send me some credentials I want to go through, and I want to see your YouTube videos that you have done. I think I'd already spoken 5 times. I did that, and I just kind of, in faith, I said, you know what, I need to get another Airbnb. I got another Airbnb in a different place, um, because I thought if he says yes, I need to be able to be here. And it worked out. So the next day he calls me. He says, you know, my pastor has allowed you to talk. Um, you know, he took me to lunch. So now I have nothing to do all afternoon except wait for the youth group, which would be from 6 to 12-year-olds. It is on my YouTube channel. I recorded it. It's one of the ones maybe that I recorded first and got online first. It's, you know, you'll see it, Grace Church, Amarillo, Texas. It just seemed like, and I'm going to reference the Bible verse because he was very quick to say, we've been talking about this. And so let's go to Judges 6, and it's about Gideon. And you guys probably know about Gideon and 300. But the thing that he brought to my attention, and he kind of heard me speak little parts of this, which was verse 25. Take your father's, and I'm skipping some things here, take your father's bull and a second bull, 7 years old, and pull down the altar of Baal, which belongs to your father, and cut down the, I don't know what that is besides it. And it says here, and build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this stronghold. That's the word. And cut it down. Again, I'm paraphrasing. God had instructed Gideon to take down his father's stronghold. And it happened before he went into battle. And I think that's what the Lord needed me to hear in Texas, is that you need to take down your father's strongholds. What strongholds do we have in our family that we don't know about? And are we going to equip ourselves with God's instructions? And so here it is, Gideon, who's kind of a scaredy cat. He's kind of crying about it, and God has him do this thing. And so when he does it, the rest of the story you can read, but the men were mad at him, and they said, you know, who destroyed our idols? And they were going to kill him. And Gideon was supposed to do it, and he did it at night because, you know, he's being sneaky. His father defended him. And I think that was the thing that Gideon probably needed to hear too. His father defended him, and they didn't kill him. Anyhow, I got to speak, and that's basically it. I just feel like there's another little part of my journey that has actually a pretty big impact, and I can't tell you the second half of the story, but I'm going to tell you the first half of the story. So one of the things that I'm trying to remember, and I'm going to play this video because I got to play this video, and then we'll come back to the little thing here. So let's go here, video, play, please.
Just can't believe the doors that God's opening, and I know He wants me to talk to all these people. And as I talk to this video channel, you know, it's like I know in some crazy way that God can use it. And, you know, people encouraging me in YouTube is what helped me get through this season. So I want to be that same encouragement to people and say, hey, this is my journey, and hopefully you'll follow and see the steps that God used to help me get to a better place. Because that ultimately is what He wants. He wants not only, this is what this guy, I've always heard, you know, hurt people. Well, I never heard the other half of it, which is free people help free people. And I thought that was really, really good, man. All right, man. Love you guys. Stay in your word. Just put in good things in your heart. Concentrate on the good. Focus on the good. And even though there's always going to be memories of stuff that you went through or stuff that's happening, just, you know, concentrate on the good and remember who. One of the sermons was, you know, don't worry so much about the why of why God is this happening, but the what and the who in it. That's Jesus. And when Job, I had two people talk about Job. You know, when Job went through everything that he went through.
So basically, concentrate on the good. The thing that it is again, God's Spirit works in really, really ways, and He plants things in our hearts that sometimes take a while. And Elevation Church, wonderful pastor talked about, hey, I'm going to still his thing is, who has ever gotten a row or a vase with roots? The roots are the ugly parts, and we want to see the flower, we want to see the fruit. When God sometimes want to plant some roots. So I'm in this Airbnb, and I'll just go out and say it's probably second to last or third to last dirtiest place that I stayed. And so as I'm very happy with my company, nothing against this homeowner, I just felt like I'm going to concentrate on the good. And he had these wonderful sheets, and so I'm having breakfast, which he's making me breakfast, right? And I'm like, and I'm happy, and I'm like, I said, hey, I said, my place is very comfortable, thank you. And I said, it's always nice when the sheets are really comfortable. So that was my compliment. That was me concentrating on the good. So he ends up telling me about these bamboo sheets, and I never heard of them. And so he gives me this coupon and says, here, man, you need to get them. I said, are you kidding? He goes, yeah. And he goes, there's 35% off. And I was kind of like, are you kidding? I ended up buying those sheets and had them shipped to my house. So if you stay with me through this whole journey, there'll be a whole other story on that. But that's it. That's my thing with Texas. It was wonderful. It's again God showing me, I think, some things in the Bible that I needed to know. Dear Jesus, thank you for this evening. Thank you for my health. It's returned almost to 100%. Father, I pray that tonight that you guys will continue to ask God what our purpose should be for this season. What are we trying to do? Thank you, Father, for the wisdom that you give to all of us when we seek it. Help me to continue to be hungry for it. In your precious name, Jesus, amen. Good night. Oklahoma City, next. We are headed there, so have a great night. I hope to see you in a couple days, if not tomorrow. God bless.